So today we're going to be rebuilding the Denver Nuggets as we take over. They're currently 43-22 on the season. This team is built around Nikola Jokic, the stellar big man, almost the perfect big man you'd want in the modern NBA. He can shoot from any range, he's a great rebounder, and he's a great playmaker, almost better and comparable to most point guards, and that's the exact thing we want. Now, right next to him, we have point guard Jamal Murray, who, whenever he was in the draft, he was garnering comparisons to Steph Curry for his ability to shoot threes. Now, he hasn't necessarily lived up to that, and we're going to try to access that a little bit more because we really want some top-tier star talent on this team. Now, when you think of star talent on the team, it doesn't take you very long to get to Michael Porter Jr. He's a versatile wing player who, though he has to deal with some injury issues, we're hoping that when he comes into the season and really gets playing time, we're hoping that he can be one of the best players and really the third best player on our team. Now, the one fear, of course, is his injuries and Mike Malone actually playing the guy, which is definitely going to be a conversation we're going to have towards the end of the season when it comes to keeping Mike Malone as our head coach. Now, I'm not going to bore you guys with simulating through the final months, so we're just going to jump into some of the stats. Nikola Jokic, a pretty good season. Jamal Murray, a good season. Once again, would wish for the higher three-point percentage, but in Gary Harris's case, 29% from three is not at all what you want from the guy. We want him to be up to like 33 to 37% from three. We want him to be a really good backcourt mate to pair with Jamal Murray, and that three-point percentage just isn't going to cut it. Now, in the playoffs, we're going to open taking on the Utah Jazz, and as you're going to notice, Gary Harris does get injured. He's our best perimeter defender, and I don't know if you can notice from me scrolling through, but when I scroll down here, we're missing Will Barton and Michael Porter Jr. So we have a ton of big injuries for the first round against a quality Utah Jazz team. And the big fear here is that we're going to lose. And as you can see, we're down 2-1. We're just going to go ahead and play the simulation game, and we completely blow it. So down 3-1, Will Barton comes back, so we are able to activate him. He provides good playmaking and shooting. But as you can see, in the first round, we got eliminated. We lose. What a terrible way to go out on such a great season from this Nuggets team, but I think this is going to call to some changes that we might need to make in the offseason. The first one is evaluating Mike Malone, considering that he really didn't give Michael Porter that many chances this season, and considering the fact that, we lost despite having the better and more talented team in that series to the Jazz. I wanted to go in a new direction with head coach and just bring in somebody who was a little bit better. But a couple of other things I want to talk about is something a little under the radar, and it's the potential of maybe trading for somebody who could really take us over the edge. Now, my fear with Jamal Murray is he's not bad at all, but he really doesn't drive inside the paint that much, and he's not that aggressive. Not only that, but also we don't really have the type of players on this team to really access how good Jamal Murray can be off ball. And I just don't know if I want that fit to really, or if I believe in that fit to really lead us to being a championship winning team. Now, a player who I would love to personally trade for is a guy like Damian Lillard. The reason why is because Lillard would be a much better natural scorer than Jamal Murray. And I think that he would just be a better fit with the team. With Murray, we would probably have to trade an asset like Michael Porter Jr. for someone like Bradley Beal in order for it to really work here. And I just don't know how comfortable I am making a deal for a guy like Bradley Beal. Whereas with Dame, we get a guy who's already just a veteran to playoff situations, even if he's never been to the finals. Like we remember last season, he was competing in the Western Conference Finals. So despite a slow season, that may help us because slowly but surely Dame would be getting angrier with the organization. They would be putting less pieces around him ideally. And so hopefully for us, the team just kind of sucks this season and we're able to make a trade for Lillard in the offseason. Now, if we're not able to, a couple of other guys we might be able to look at is like a Drew Holiday maybe, or going back to a Bradley Beal deal, even though we'd have to give up Michael Porter Jr. As for the offseason, though, we brought back Paul Millsap, and we also brought back Mason Plumlee, and then I just looked at Damian Dotson. He's a good shooter, and the Knicks weren't really bringing him back, so I just decided to bring him on to add some depth at the shooting guard spot. As for the rotation going into this season, we decided to start Jeremy Grant. As I said, Paul Millsap would be coming off the bench, and we're also going to run Michael Porter Jr. as our sixth man, just because we want to make sure that he can get used to playing a lot more minutes in an increased role. And starting the simulation off for this season, shout out to all the trades that are about to come in. We start off pretty good, and then bam, Michael Porter Jr. hit with a pinched nerve in the back. Regardless, at the end of the month, we're still able to finish 13-3, and if you notice, the Trailblazers are still sticking around in the playoffs, hanging on right there at 10-5. Now, continuing on with the simulation, looking at some games, we're just having a couple good high-scoring outings from our guys. Shout out to Will Barton for almost a triple-double game here. I really kind of like the production here, especially from Jokic. He's having a kind of efficient season. Jamal Murray, though, in some of these games is not shooting very well. As you can see, 3 of 12 there. He was 5 of 15 for the game before. And then he didn't do too hot against the Jazz. As for team rankings, we're the third best defensive team in the league and one of the best offensive teams, so I'm pretty happy. And so we're just going to go through the month of December up until around when Michael Porter Jr. is slated to come back. As you can see, the trades are still flying in. I'm sorry, I just don't like AI trades here. And we do get Michael Porter Jr. back. Looking at his first game back, he was the second highest scorer on the team, though he shot 2 of 7 from 3. Nikola Jokic wasn't very good, and we did lose. But in the next game, however, we would obliterate the Utah Jazz, and Michael Porter Jr. had a very good 28-point outing. So we're pretty proud of the way the team's going, especially for a team that's been labeled a pretender. I mean, there's not much better production that you could ask for, but if you notice, this trade right here should give us a sign of things to come with the Blazers. They're already offering up CJ McCollum, and they completely disappeared, going 16-19 in the Western Conference, so they completely dropped off out of the playoff race. And now I just decided, why bore you guys with even more sim when we can just go to the end of the season and Jamal Murray gets a twisted ankle. So looking at some of the stats, some of the standings here, once again, the Blazers missed out in the playoffs, but we had a very good season from Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. You can look up there, Jamal Murray with 41% from 3 on 9 a game. That's very good. Michael Porter Jr., I wish for a little bit better three-point production, and Gary Harris didn't have the most efficient season from the field, but that's okay. And we get Jamal Murray back, though 7 games in the first run to the Suns is not what I like to see. Us moving on is still good. Now, as for this Clippers series, we got to simcast this because we're taking on Kawhi and Paul George. Now, we get completely obliterated, and okay. So, we lose Michael Porter Jr. again. That's exciting. Now, as you can see there, he's still for some reason in the rotation because I edited the wrong rotation for this team. So then I actually go ahead and change it for the next game. So now Porter isn't playing with one hand. And so you're going to see here the changes that we make to the rotation. I delete the game plan I try to make for the Clippers. And you're going to see Porter was just a complete liability. So it's no surprise that we lost that game. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and start Will Barton. I realized going into this playoff series that Will Barton's ball handling and playmaking off the bench is much more vital than in the starting lineup, and Porter only had that back injury to start the year, so I really just felt comfortable starting him. But now, back into the playoff series, Game 3 here against the Clippers. Once again, keeping it in the simcast. As it starts out, we actually have a pretty good lead, and then we completely blow it, and good God, we collapse in the fourth quarter, only scoring 13 points. So that's not good. But Game 4, do we hold on? We do. Thank God. Shout out to a 47-point fourth quarter and Nikola Jokic going God mode with a triple-double. But Game 5 in Denver, let's see if we can at least continue to stretch this series. And nah, It's just not going to happen. And looking at some of the numbers, Jamal Murray was actually like the best player on the team. Will Barton was kind of inefficient. Nikola Jokic wasn't great. Gary Harris wasn't that good. We honestly just kind of needed Michael Porter Jr. in that series. But despite Jamal Murray doing great, this is kind of the reason why I want to trade for someone else like a Dame, just because they might be able to elevate their teammates a little better. So now, going into the draft lottery, we just wanted to monitor it, considering that the Blazers had the 11th overall pick. I mean, just in case by some will of God they moved up in the draft, then potentially maybe we could shoot an offer for Dame and it would be able to help them start a rebuild, especially with one of the best players in this draft being a point guard. Maybe it wouldn't be too terrible of an idea, but of course, that's saying that by some, once again, act of divine intervention, the Blazers move up in the draft. So here we go, the 11th pick. Oh. The Blazers are now in the top 4. This is big. And I mean, we just got to get through these results, and there it is. The Blazers get the number 3 overall pick in the draft. So this poses an interesting question. If we could trade the Blazers Jamal Murray, who needs to be used off-ball more, maybe as a 2-guard, this would give the Blazers the red carpet to draft this point guard, who's apparently like a really good ball handler and really good playmaker. And this could essentially springboard them into having a young core for the future, whereas we could get our core to compete now with Damian Lillard. So the deal would basically be Jamal Murray and Mason Plumlee to make the salaries work, and then 2 first-round picks for Dame. And the real question was who did the Blazers draft? And, well, there it is, right in front of you. They took Cade Cunningham, so they have their point guard of the future, and this all but confirms that now Dame is available. So here's the offer right in front of you that we mentioned, and just like that, Damian Lillard was a Denver Nugget. There he is in the Nuggets jersey right now. Oh, just get a good look at him. It's beautiful. It is truly beautiful. As for the offseason, we needed to fill in Mason Plumlee, so we got Bruno Fernando. He's a little bit worse of a mid-range shooter, but he does everything else at a pretty high level, and he's a little bit younger. For the rotation going into the season, we also had Bol brought back just because we had him on restricted free agency. And it's basically the same rotation, except now Michael Porter's starting, Monte Morris is getting some more minutes. And as for the first few months of this season, we just roll through the league. I mean, we really do. Now, I turned off injuries and I turned off trade offers because I realized how annoying those were in the sim. And then all of a sudden, we just started flying through the damn thing. I mean, we blew through the conference. Now, as for the standings, Dame was going God mode. I mean, the guy was dropping 31 a game. Now, looking at Michael Porter's stats, would wish for better efficiency. Nikola Jokic wasn't hitting his threes that much, and we were actually the 2nd seed at 39 and 11. And after that, I thought, well, what's the point of showing you guys the whole full season? We ended up 61 and 21, right behind the Memphis Grizzlies, and Dame got MVP, averaging 29 points a game, almost 30 points. A really good season for Dame. Now, we did see some drop-offs for like Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter, but Porter still also had a good season. Now in the playoffs, you'll see we beat the Mavericks in round 1 and the Suns in round 2. We really didn't have it that bad, but in the Western Conference Finals, we are going to have to take on the first-seeded Grizzlies. Now, the Grizzlies, of course, are led by point guard John Morant, who's actually not doing as good as he was in the regular season in the playoffs, but they're still winning. They also have Dylan Brooks, who's kind of on a shooting slump right now, but Jordan Clarkson is ascending to a new level in these playoffs. And this is just a really well-rounded Grizzlies team. As we're going to see here, they also brought in Jonathan Isaac, but thank God for 2K's tendency system because he's still averaging like 8 points a game. And then, of course, they have Jaren Jackson, who hasn't broken out yet as a scorer. And then they have Melo. So good for Melo. He's getting his opportunity to get a ring. And then Jonas Valanciunas. Now, as for the actual simming in this series, we're going to go ahead and take it to the Simcast. And game 1, pretty big win for the Grizzlies there. And Dame did not have the best game. But you're going to notice here, Jokic does not want to lose this thing. As we're going to go ahead and get into the Game 2 simulation, we start by winning We end by winning. And shout out to Nikola Jokic. As we said, he doesn't want to lose this thing, dropping 39 and 20. Dame bounces back, both of them playing 40 minutes. Jokic does a great job against us, but we seem to shut down the rest of the Grizzlies team, which is pretty good. I mean, we have one of the better defensive teams in the league. Gary Harris is great at perimeter defense, and Jeremy Grant is as well. So it's not too surprising to see us shut down other guys. Now in Game 3, despite the Grizzlies' attempt to come back in the third quarter, we get another big win. Jokic is just going God mode. I mean, he's just forgetting that Dame was the leading scorer and the MVP, and he just wants to get this guy to the finals. I mean, look at his recent games there, just consistent 30-point games in this series. And then moving on into the next game, we go ahead and open this one down to the Grizzlies, and then oh my God, they scored 4 points in the second quarter. Yeah, this thing's over. I mean, I really don't see. I mean, maybe they'll pick up this game just to make it interesting and let us win at home. No. We completely obliterate the Grizzlies. And so Dame and Jokic finally pick up their first Western Conference Finals win. You see him celebrating there with the trophy. And it was on to the NBA Finals for this team. Now, which team would come out of the East to face us in the Finals? Well, the screen's black for suspense. Yep, the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs, led by Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, and Andre Drummond, ended up finishing with the 1 seed and making it to the finals. I mean, they still have Kevin Love on this team. And in Game 1, we decided to start the simulation off. They actually were pretty competitive, but we ended up coming out as the better team, winning by 6. Damian Lillard went off. Michael Porter Jr. did really well, and Nikola Jokic did really well. And this is exactly, I mean, you love to see it if you're a Nuggets fan at this point. That's the big three of the future for this team, hoping to win against the ever-so-valiant effort of the Cavs. As you can see, we take Game 2 by 11 there. Lillard and Jokic go off together. Porter had a nice little double-double game. In the next one, though, we open up in Cleveland, and, you know, we at least got to make it interesting. And so Cleveland, we're battling, but they end up dominating us in the third and fourth quarter. We just couldn't really hit our threes, especially Michael Porter Jr. And so on to the next game in Cleveland. I think this is Game 4. This one, I mean, it's important that we capitalize on it. We get blown out in the first quarter, but then we return to normalcy. Remember that we're the Nuggets, and we win by 11. Now in Game 5, the Cavs once again start out with a strong opening, but we obliterate them in the third and fourth quarter. And you know, now we gotta hop in and enjoy this celebration. As you can see, for some reason 2K skipped over the main cutscene, but we get to see all the players celebrating with their trophies. Nikola Jokic gets his MVP award. Dame finally gets his ring. And that's it for the rebuild. Thank you all for watching. If you made it to this point, please hit that like button and make sure to subscribe. I'm kind of new to this whole thing, so let me know what I can do to improve. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one.